So tonight's question is, how fund a government contract now that you have won? That is tonight's question. I spoke with someone today who was wondering about funding a contract, and we've had this conversation before, right? And winning a contract is half the battle because you still have to deliver. So now that you have to deliver and prove to the federal government that you can actually pull this off, you need to be in the actual contract. So tonight, the topic is three really easy ways for you to be able to fund a government contract. All right, I only chose three because we can go down the rabbit hole of 10, 15, 20 different ways, but I feel like these are the three easiest for you right now at the time frame that many of you are at in your government contracting career. Okay? So please know that you don't have to worry about funding. If you feel like it is something that's holding you back, tonight I'm going to put that fear to rest. Okay? We're going to pick three. I've already picked them for you, and we're going to go through them together. And then you tell me what you think the best option is for you based on the three options that I'm going to give you. Okay? So, tonight, three ways to fund a government contract, smart options for small businesses. Number one is factoring companies. If you are not aware of what a factoring company is, it's actually a really cool process. What they do is they purchase your invoices for a small percentage and then they front you the cash. I really enjoy working with factoring companies. Now, something you have to realize with factoring companies, and this is a really good tip, is that 3% to 5% is what they should be charging. Any factoring company that's charging you over 5% is not a good factoring company. Because what factoring companies do is they purchase your invoice because the government cannot pay you and you don't have the capital in order to be able to wait for the government to pay you 90 days from now or 60 or 30, right? Typically it's 30 days. But you don't have the immediate cash flow at this point in your journey in order to fund that contract. And if you do, you are so blessed. You are more blessed than you know. But factoring companies purchase your invoice, pay you up front, and take a 3% to 5% fee. Now, there's some really good factoring companies out there. I think that RTS Financial is one, and they take 2.5%. But what you can do is call up factoring companies right now. Make sure that they're familiar with government contracting because a lot of factoring companies are familiar with trucking and logistics, but not with factoring. So make sure that they know the government process and understand that because they're purchasing your receivables. So let them know that, this is how the government operates and have a conversation with them. Factoring companies are amazing to work with. So the reason why you want to utilize them is because you don't have to wait 30, 60, or 90 days for the government to pay you. All right. And here's the best part, you can factor in the factoring company's fee into your contract. So if you know you're going to use a factoring company, what you can do is the 3 to 4 or 5% that they're going to charge you can just add it to the contract and it's like it never even existed, right? So what they do is they go through a credit process, the factoring companies, and they're going to check the government's credit and there's going to be no issues. whatever agency you're working with, whether it's National Park Services, DOD, I mean, there's so many different ones out there. They're going to check their credit, and the government doesn't have issues with credit. So that's something you don't have to worry about. And then factoring company is good for larger contracts, like contracts that are in the 500K range all the way up to 5 million. But be aware that the larger the contract, the more money the factoring company is going to take off top, but you're not going to miss those funds because of the simple fact that you're going to insert the factoring company's fee into your profit margin in your contract. So you're not going to miss those funds, right? Um, Factoring companies are a great way to come out here and fund your contracts. And if you haven't won a contract yet, guess what? Start to already look at factoring companies. Start to do research and see which ones are the best. Go to Chat GPT and say, hey, um, give me 10 of the best factoring companies that work with the government, right? Um, I just want to double check. So number two is credit cards. All right. If you have the ability to utilize credit cards or leverage credit cards, you are in a fantastic spot, right? Because you have instant access to funds. Excuse me. Oh, I'm at Wegmans. It is so cold in here. It's freezing always. Um, Credit cards are instant access to funds for material and labor. And it is such an easy way to build your credit. Like you can build your credit out instantly by using a credit card to make the purchase because you don't have to pay the credit card until the next statement date rolls around or the next payment due date rolls around. So you don't have anything to worry about if you have a credit card and you're building an amazing credit history, right? Then you can start looking at things like cash back points, your rewards programs, and this con- contracts are best for credit cards are best for smaller contracts or product contracts. Like let's say the government wants to buy um, 10,000 boxes of light bulbs, 100 boxes of light bulbs, right? That would be more keen for a credit card purchase. But you're building that credit card history up. And you also, the fact that you have instant access to funds for the labor and materials is really an amazing place to be. So now the government is clearly aware that we are operating as small businesses. They know what it takes and what kind of challenges we face on a yearly, daily, weekly, monthly basis. They understand that, right? That credit cards might not be the best option, and that is okay. But I made this video with you in mind because these are three of the easiest options that I think that are attainable for you and your company and your journey. So factoring companies are one great option. Credit cards are two. Okay, so if you have credit cards, use them. All right. Now, three. A lot of people don't know this one, and this is why I chose this option. Purchase order terms. Okay. What will happen is when you are awarded a government contract, once you are told you are awarded, what will happen is the agency that awarded you will send you something called a purchase order. This gives you all the detailed information of what you were awarded, your delivery time frame, the agency's information, who you're going to invoice, the description of the work. There's going to be a lot of information on this purchase order. Okay. What you can do once you get your purchase order is ask your subcontractor Can we operate with a purchase order? Some of them are going to say, what do you mean by that? Others are going to say, oh, yeah, well, we need the information of the agency, blah, blah, blah. So be careful with this, okay? Because if a company is aware of purchase orders, they might be aware, 9 times out of 10, they're aware of government contracting as well. So this just recently happened to me. Um, I reached out for a quote to company ABC. They Now on their website it stated that they operate under POs. So it's okay to come with a purchase order, right? And that's okay because it takes time to get the purchase order. You still have to put your bid in. The award will pen for a little while in a pending state, and then you'll get awarded. Then you'll get your PO and you can go from there. So getting the PO takes time. But this company that I researched, company ABC, said that they would operate off of a purchase order. So I said, okay, that's great. Can I get a quote on these specific products? And what they said was, now if I was a rookie, maybe I would have fell for this. But because I've been in the game and I have some skin, I was able to understand that this was just a ploy to get information out of me, right? Because not everyone has the best intentions. So company ABC says, yeah, we can give you a quote on this product, but we need the name of the agency and the point of contact of the project that you're working on. Because you always want to be clear that you don't work for the agency. You want to be clear on that, right? If they ask you, oh, well, do you work for that county? It's always a no. No, I do not work for the government. I work side by side with them. I collaborate with them. Don't ever tell anyone that you work for a county if they ask, or a state, or just keep it clean, right? So this company, what they did was they were asking me and told me, based off of our terms and conditions, we cannot give you a quote unless we know the agency's name and the point of contact. So the person in my mind who has skin in the game now, the version of me now that has skin in the game, quickly understood that if I gave that information, they would just immediately undercut me and bid themselves. It was a very unique contract, right? And there wasn't many subs out there who could provide the work that I was bidding on. So I immediately knew that it was not a good idea to give them that information. And I said, excuse me, I said, right now that information is confidential. That is not something we can share based on our terms and conditions. If we can get a quote moving forward, once we supply the purchase order, we can then give you all the information that you need, because by the time you get the purchase order, it's too late for the other company to bid. So I hope that that story makes sense, because what they were trying to do was undercut me, get the information, right? The county, the point of contact, so they can push me out of the picture. And then what they could do is bid themselves. I'm telling you this story because purchase orders are, you have to be careful. If a company accepts them, you might have to present it to them. Now, if you're presenting to a company and they say, hey, what's a purchase order terms? Explain to them, look, the government is going to give me a purchase order, and that is the government's track record, right? That's a guarantee that they're going to pay you. And he might say, let me talk to my boss. And his boss might say, yeah, we can do that, right? That's the kind of deal that you're looking for on purchase order terms. Because what happened to me with company ABC, they were going to undercut me, right? And if I was a rookie or I was just starting, I would have gave them that information. Yeah, sure, here's the agency. Doesn't take much. Once you have the agency and the point of contact, they can find the contract based off of what they're selling, right? They're not going to sub with someone. So I was very aware of what was going on, but somebody earlier in their path and their journey might not be, right? So lenders trust the government POs because they're easier to approve, and it guarantees that the government is going to pay on time. It also lets you take on bigger contracts without upfront capital, which is really nice to know. Okay. So these are the three options that I chose: factoring, credit cards, purchase orders. Just be careful with purchase orders. Okay, make sure you have the conversation first. Ask, do you approve purchase orders? If they ask, what's that? Educate them. If they say, yeah, we need the agency's name along with the point of contact, run for the hills. Just explain to them, under our terms and conditions, we cannot provide that information. Thank you for your consideration, but we're going to move forward with another company, right? Just always keep it clean, always keep it professional. Okay, not everyone has the best intentions, and throughout your journey, you will figure that out. But you have the power to make decisions in this thing, in your life, in your business, in your journey. We often forget that we have the power. Don't let anyone back you into a corner at any moment. Okay, understand that in this space, you are in control. All right. So, which one of these is the best? Now, credit cards, if the contract is small and you want flexibility, credit card is the best way. Factoring, if you need if you need fast cash on the larger invoices, factoring companies are the answer. Okay? And then PO financing. If you win big, supply equipment contracts. So if I had to look at it, I would say factoring is best for services. PO is best for services and products, and credit cards are best for products. So, which one of these do you think is the best option and the easiest option for your company? If you can put that in the chat, you can put hashtag replay and then give me your answer on which you think is the best option for your company, because these are three very easy things to obtain. And take my advice with the PO. If a contract or if a subcontractor is asking you for the agency's name and the point of contact, do not disclose that information. They're just going to push you right out of the process. Okay, they're going to undercut you and it's going to be an upsetting situation. So, these three, which one do you think is the best? Right? There's a master class that's coming up. I'm so excited because I have two separate dates. I have the 11th and I have the 18th. Right now, I want to touch on this too. Don't let it hold you back. Okay? Funding doesn't have to hold you back. Just keep going. All right? Use the right tool for the right contract, whether it's PO, factor, or credit card. Just use the right tool. And then position your business to win and deliver without financial stress. It doesn't have to be a financial disaster because you won a contract. If you are preparing yourself and you're watching my videos and you're showing up to the classes and the courses, by the time you get your purchase order and you win a contract, you will be fully prepared because you're locked in and paying attention. You're locked in and you're paying attention. So just keep going, right? And if there's something that you want to add in the chat that you feel like you've been struggling with more lately than others, then you do that. Okay, I put a VIP option together. What that gets you is 3 one-on-one sessions with me for 2 hours. Now, I like to make a request, and please ask that before you do that, find a contract that you actually want to bid on. Okay, when you find the contract that you want to bid on, come to me and book your 3 sessions. You can book them one at a time, two, whatever you like, right? But we can sit down together, and the roadblocks that you are facing, we can go over them together. And the overall outcome is for you to be able to hit submit on this contract, because there's many things in government contracting in the process where you feel like, why am I doing this? I can't make it past this point. How am I going to get this done to be able to hit submit? If I can sit with you for 2 hours and 3 one-on-one sessions, grab the VIP option. It is the best value. You get the masterclass, the checklist, and 3 one-on-one sessions. Okay? There's a pricing course that's coming up September 10th that I am working on, that I'm genuinely excited about it, right? Because the way it's structured and put together is exciting. The people that are involved makes it even more exciting. So I'm looking forward to that as well. But I'm going to end tonight with saying, don't let pricing hold you back, please. Funding does not have to hold you back. Position your business to win and deliver without financial stress. Hi, Ella. How are you? Is there any questions that you guys had based off of what we talked about tonight? I just felt like those three options were the best options for currently, like current funding options, because a lot of people are struggling with it. Seems it's something that always creeps in the mind of, how am I going to fund this? How am I going to pay for this? I'm just a small business. Some of us just opened our doors. Some of us been in business for 5 years. Like, everybody's different on the journey. So, Ella, you think factoring? Okay. I think factoring is a good option. There's a lot of good factoring companies out there as well. Let me take a look. Let's look at 3 factoring companies who help small businesses with government contracts. Also, if you're new here, subscribe. If you know anyone who's struggling with government contracting, share this video with them, or bring them to the channel, have them join the community so that they can learn as well. The first thing that popped up was freight brokers, of course. All right, factoring companies for government contracts. It looks like one is Porter Capital, Porter Capital. Another one is Factoring Marketplace. I've never heard of them before. And then another one is called Profitable Venture. So those are 3 factoring companies that can definitely help you in your journey. And the people that you work side by side with in factoring companies, they're like your back office. The way that they organize and structure everything that they do, like, they give you your own portal. And I know about factoring because logistics. I didn't have the funds to pay my drivers up front. So I didn't pay my drivers up front, but what I would do is I would factor the load. Factoring would pay me, and then because my customer wouldn't pay for 90 days. So I couldn't wait 90 days to pay my carrier. Like, I had to pay them right away. So I would utilize factoring, if that makes sense. Okay. Oh, we need the charger, honey. So factoring, I'm going to put 3 options in the chat for you really quick. Yeah, they give you like a portal, and they give you your own back office. Now, they give you a tutorial on it, and then from there, what you can do is, if you're struggling, if you're struggling with if you're struggling with any questions, you can just give them a call